Hello, hello, and welcome. I am Reese. I'm the digital manager here at Women's March, and we have a really exciting program for all of you tonight. So let us know where you're coming from in the chat this evening. There are so many of you who've RSVP'd, and I know that it's because we have a really big weekend ahead of us. This is No Kings weekend, and we have been waiting, and we are so excited to be out there with you as the Feminist Front. Hope y'all have your green ready to go. I hope that y'all have organized your Feminist Front contingents, and if you haven't, make sure to throw them up on the Women's March map. You can add them over right here. But tell us where you're coming from. Tell us where you're going to be rallying and marching for No Kings as well. I know that it's going to be a busy weekend, and we want you all to feel safe and comfortable. So that's what we're doing tonight. We are making sure that you feel prepared. Now, we do have some rules for the road. So be excellent to each other in the chat. The community that we build in the chat is the community that we're cultivating for the world. So be excellent to each other. Offer your curiosity instead of assumptions, and also offer your good intentions. Be genuine here. Let's come from a place of good faith in our comments and in our conversations and our questions. If you are spamming the chat, that means that you are trying to take up space that keeps other people from being able to participate as well. So if you are spamming in the chat, we are also going to drop that ban hammer. We are heavy on the block hand, and we are not afraid to use it. So if you're trolling, if you're spamming, you're cut off. If you need captions to better participate in this conversation tonight, make sure to join us on Facebook. Facebook has caught up on the tech to do live captioning. Alas, YouTube has not. So make sure that if you need closed captions, join us on Facebook. Now, as ever, we do have some working agreements. I'm going to drop that link in the, I'm going to drop that right up here if you would like to see them, or if you would like to use them for your own communities as well. These are, I think, some pretty great working agreements. I'm going to drop the link in the chat just in case. So let us know again where you're coming from. We're giving y'all just a couple more minutes to filter in already. We know it's going to be a packed conversation. If you have to hop out at any given time, if you've got other things going on, that is okay. Tonight's call is being recorded. It will be on our YouTube as soon as this is over. So you'll be able to catch up, review, and come back to it if you ever need to. This is a resource that we are so happy to offer you. Additionally, all resources that are presented on tonight's call will be sent via email after the call as well. So make sure that you check your email. If you haven't registered, make sure to register for the call, because you will get those resources via email after the call is over. Finally, of course, ask your questions in the chat. We might not stop the conversation to answer questions in real time, but we will have time for questions and answers at the end of the session. So make sure that you ask your questions in the chat, and we will be watching out for them. You will be able to watch this again, like I said, as a replay on YouTube. So that will be available after this call is over. You'll be able to come back to it as much as you'd like on YouTube after the session. All right. We see so many of y'all from coast to coast, north to south. Thanks for being with us. Thank you for choosing to take this time to get grounded, to to really make yourself feel safe and prepared for No Kings this weekend. From California to New York, Florida to Arizona, we see y'all, and we are so excited to be out in these streets with you. So let's get into it. I'm really excited to hand over the stage to my friend Kala, who is going to be guiding us through tonight's training. Hey, Kala. You're muted.
Hi, Risa. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Let's give Risa a huge round of applause. I really appreciate the way that Risa always starts to build the container for our learning together. We'll switch to the next slide. And welcome. So today this part of our protest safety series with Women's March. Today we're going to be focusing on situational awareness 201. Many of you were part of our 101 situational awareness training back in back in January, late January. This is the addendum to that and building upon what folks learned. And if you weren't at that training, don't worry. That training is available on Women's March's YouTube page. And we'll move to the next slide, please. My name is Kala. I am a frontline safety and security specialist. I have been engaged in protecting and supporting communities at the front lines since the late 90s. I really kind of built up my on-the-ground experience prior to the WTO protests in Seattle back in 99, have been very fortunately invited into spaces like Aotearoa, New Zealand, by the Maori community in 2019 during the occupation of Ihumatao, in Standing Rock in 2016, and have really been all over the world. And I'm bringing in lessons learned from these frontline communities to the work here in the United States. We'll go to the next slide, please. So a really quick recap of Situational Awareness 101. We talked about the before, during, and after of a protest, how best to prepare yourselves. We talked about a remote safety framework. If you're not able to be, quote unquote, on the ground at an action, there's always a space for you in safety work, and part of that is remote safety. We talked about building your own protest safety kit. We talked about the OODA loop, which stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act, which we'll dive more into today. And we talked about self and co-regulation tactics and closed it off with a holistic check-in. We'll go to the next. Thank you. So how to use this deck. This training is designed to be done at your own pace while watching this video. This is intended to be a tool for your community to prepare for likely threats. There's a worksheet that accompanies this training, and you can access that here by scanning this QR code. The worksheet basically has all of the questions that we're going to be going through together. If you aren't able to get the worksheet on your phone, just feel free to grab a sheet of paper and pen. I love it analog, and we'll go through all of these activities together. And we'll go to the next slide. So some basic learning objectives for our session. Observation is a key skill set in situational awareness. It is a primary step in keeping yourself and others safe during moments of crisis. This is part of a preparation for no kings, but really looking ahead in a fascist state where we are not working with rational operatives that are in power. It's important for us to be able to reinforce and build our skill sets around safety and security, not just for ourselves, but really collectively. In this workshop, we'll be revisiting the OODA loop as a crisis decision-making tool. We'll be refining our ability to observe and memorize data in real time, and we'll be practicing how to use Salute as a tool to document state violence. Just a content warning, I will be showing videos that I have taken personally of protests that have happened all over the world. There will be some loud noises, there will be some state violence, but no there will not be any gun violence or the use of a close-up use of pepper spray or any other types of commonly used munitions. But you may catch a cloud of CS gas or some flexi cuffs here and there. We'll move to the next slide, please. So just some basic definitions as we go in. Situational awareness is your ability to assess what is happening externally and internally, with the express intent of identifying and protecting yourself and others from potential threats. This is basically keeping your head on a swivel. The OODA loop is a decision-making tool that you can use during a crisis. It stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. SALUTE is an acronym that describes a range of information that one should collect in the instance of state or non-state actor violence. It stands for size, activity, location, uniform, time, and equipment. Observe is a fundamental part of the OODA loop. This is being aware and mindful of what's happening in your environment and within you. An example of this would be, quote unquote, I am noticing that there is a large number of state security forces here. Orient is recognizing the baseline of a situation in order to identify an anomaly. If you are at a vigil and it's, people are mourning, people are quiet, and that would serve as a baseline. A vigil has a very different baseline than a large scale march. So, an example of orienting is the protests have been calm and the number of state security has stayed the same for the last 2 hours. This is all taking in real time information to help inform your plan of action. And then there's decide, creating a plan of action to keep yourself and others safe. If state security starts to pull down their riot face shields, our team will need to get our CS gas protocols ready. That would be an example of a decision point that you'd be making. Next slide, please. So every time you see Noto-chan, this icon, please grab your notebook or the worksheet and a pen. If you're watching this training as a recording, Noto-chan is your sign to hit pause to do the accompanying activity. So let's practice that in the next slide. Next slide, please. So, what is your risk tolerance level with observing state security at protests? Once again, what is your risk tolerance level with observing state security at protests? Is it high, medium, low, or absolutely not? Let's take just a moment to write down one of those options. And we'll keep it to our notebooks. There will be some prompts where I'll be inviting folks to drop that in the chat. This will not be one of them. Alrighty, next slide, please. So we talked about the OODA loop. This should look familiar to folks, and we'll go to the next slide. We're going to briefly revisit the OODA loop from Situational Awareness 101. In the following exercise, please write down your responses to each of the OODA prompts. If you're watching this training as a recording, pause the video for 30 seconds after each one concludes, and then write out your answers. I'll show you a series of videos and you'll write down your response to the prompt after each one. So we're going to turn on our OODA loop together. We're going to turn on our observation and just recognize there is going to be some loud noises. So if you are sensitive to that, or if you have your headphones turned up to full volume, you might want to lower it or take them out. This is a choose your own adventure. And we'll start with the first slide. So you're going to have 30 seconds to write down everything that you observed. And your 30 seconds starts now. And while folks are writing, there was a question around state security. Thank you for that clarification. State security is a term that covers the police, that is state with a capital S. So that is ICE, local police, federal, state. So anyone within the construct of security that is empowered by the state. So your police, that could be the military police, that could be the military themselves, really kind of that broad range. Do you not have a workbook? Where? Yes, we will drop the link to the workbook in just 1 second. And if you don't have the workbook, don't worry about it. We're just going to be using the prompts as they come up. Thank you so much, Risa. And your 30 seconds has come to an end. We'll go to the next slide and we'll do the similar. NYPD, KKK! IOF, they're all the same! IOF, they're all the same! Free Gaza! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! So in the first video that we watched, we observed what was happening. In this one, now we are orienting to identify what the baseline is. So the baseline is basically what is normal for this situation. Because once you've identified the baseline, that helps you to look out for anomalies. And anomalies are anything that could be a threat to you or others. And anomalies are sometimes things that you might want to really zone in on. So for this quick clip, how would you describe the vibe or what is normal for this situation? You will have 30 seconds and your 30 seconds start now. You're welcome to drop that in the chat or write it down in your notebook. And I see that Pauline, thank you so much for ICE and local police walking through, flashing lights. There were local police, it was NYPD, but there were not ICE units there. There was SRG, but solid noticing the flashing lights and the specific security force that was there. All right, and that is your 30 seconds for the baseline. I see calm, a little charge. If someone goes off, it could be trouble. The vibe is combative. Fantastic. Thank you all so much for sharing. We're going to do the next slide. We're going to view, and then I'm going to ask another OODA loop prompt question. Next slide, please. Move back, move back, move back, move back. So based on what you have observed and oriented in this situation, what would be your plan of action? Once again, based on what you have observed and oriented in this situation, what would be your plan of action? And you'll have 30 seconds to either write that down in the comments or in your notebook. Your 30 seconds start now. And I'm seeing some noticings from folks. I see space between police and protesters, no movement towards each other. Definitely there is that space. It's highly charged. They're deciding to get out. Helmets up, hands ready. That's a really solid noticing. And your 30 seconds ends now. Thank you all so much for sharing that. And we'll do one more. And so in this situation, you are not home safe yet. The reason that the OODA loop is a loop is because once you take action, you go back to observe. You start to take in new information to help you decide what your new plan of action is. So go back to observe. What are you observing in this situation? What is the baseline for the situation? And what did you decide to do? And you'll have 60 seconds to write this down. Feel free to drop it in the chat or in your notebook. And your 60 seconds start now. We see some folks from South Minneapolis, a late arrival. Happy to have you here. And we're seeing some folks drop in. They are getting more aggressive. Stay back from middle of street. Do not confront, maybe leave. Are we surrounded? That's a great question. How would you determine that? Incendiary, keep your distance. If you're part of a safety team, as I was, you would want to get closer. But maybe if you were there, I saw that there was a group of CUNY professors that were there with their students, and they started moving back as soon as the NYPD started moving up aggressively. So we have a few more seconds to drop in any noticings, whether what you're observing, the baseline, or what you decide to do. It's fantastic. This is really wonderful seeing everyone really turning on their observational skills for this. So yeah, we'll move on to the next slide, please. So I just exposed folks to some what was a very, very stressful night. This was in New York during the student encampments that followed um, uh, the genocide in Gaza, and it was about, I think this was like 11 o'clock at night. So I'm sure that folks are probably a little bit activated. One thing that I would like us all to do, and this is a protocol that we use for our safety teams, is a 5 beautiful things exercise. What this does is, whether in real time or after a protective action, you take literally a minute and you move around your space if you are in a safe location, if you are home safe. And you want to identify 5 beautiful new things that you may not have noticed before. That can be a love letter that you might have found from many, many years ago. Or you could be walking by a mirror and be like, oh my gosh, my hair looks so good today. That's a beautiful thing. But I'll give folks 60 seconds to rise up out of your current position, to get outside, away from your computer for a moment. Or if you want to just like scan the room, we're turning our observational skills from looking for threats to looking and grounding in the fact that we are safe. So that minute starts now. I see some folks from Hawaii. We hope that you're safe. I know that the floods have gotten tremendously bad. Solidarity and care to our Hawaiian siblings. Seeing my old lady cat peacefully napping, her cats, beautiful plants. I'm out here exiting oak tree quilts. This is fantastic. And I want to just invite folks we're going to return back right in front of our computers. Oh, and there is no video. This is the exercise is you go into your living space where you're home safe and you look for 5 beautiful things to shift your observational skills from looking for threats towards grounding you in the reality that you're safe. Oh, these are really beautiful noticings. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to the next slide, please. So you may be wondering, okay, so I'm really interested. I saw that there were some folks that are on safety teams. There may be folks that are on this call that are, how do I get even more involved in keeping our communities safe? Well, we have the Women's Protection and Safety Teams. These are volunteer-led structures that are grounded in work by South Sudanese women who would protect women, children, and other vulnerable community members to go from the internally displaced people's camps to sources of water and back. The Women's Protection and Safety Teams are our answer to the world that we want to live in. And this is a way for folks to deepen their involvement and to strengthen their already existing skills on safety and security. If you're interested, please join the Women's Protection and Safety Team Signal chat by scanning the QR code, or you want to fill out the Women's Protection and Safety Team interest form that's going to be in the chat. Great, I'll give that just a moment. And if you join the Signal chat, it is going to be broadcast only. So You can do so. What you can, if you have it on your phone, you can just go ahead and take a screenshot of it, and you'll be able to look up the you'll be able to look it up once you look at it on your phone as a photo. And everyone that has registered will also get a direct link to the Women's Protection and Safety Team Signal chat. Fantastic. And we'll move on to the next slide, please. So we went over the OODA loop. We talked through what you were observing in those really limited videos, and that was purposeful because a lot of times if you are on a safety team and you are preparing for the use of CS gas or tear gas, you may have a full face respirator on. So we wanted to simulate some of the limitations of that when you have to balance your safety with keeping the community safe. So now what we're going to be doing is an observational skill up. In this activity, we'll be working together to refine our observation skills. We will highlight one observation method, primarily sight, and its accompanying skill up. Next slide, please. For this skill up, the purpose is to clearly identify and memorize visual data. The objective of this activity is to refine your visual observation skills. The way that we're going to do that is we're all going to take a collective breath together. So take a deep breath in, deep breath out. We are going to observe, and then we're going to describe in detail what you saw and write it down either in the chat or in your notebook or worksheet. Next slide, please. If you aren't ready, please move to your designated area now. Next slide, please. So you will have 1 minute to write down everything that you saw. And then we're going to take a second look in just a moment. So your 60 seconds start now. I'm seeing folks drop in. Chaos. Yep, a lot of chaotic movement. Standing Rock. Holler. Someone recognize Standing Rock. Let's see. Flags, tear gas, peace out of river. Someone said Salt Lake City, or they might be from Salt Lake City. You have about 30 more seconds. Yeah, so we are trying to replicate the chaos that happens with observation. If you are feeling nauseous or you're unable to, I would go ahead and step away for this section, and then we're going to be doing one more section after this. So we see flags waving, tear gas, movement with indigenous folks, coordinated chaos, a person on boat and water, no violence, and time. That was a lot of visual information, and the fact that most of y'all were able to glean pieces or entire tableaus is really, really impressive. So we're going to take a second look, and I want you to once again turn your observation mode on. And if you are once again, if you have motion sickness issues, I would invite you to maybe not watch, but listen in, or just keep an eye on the comments, and then you can come back at the and the next activity. And we'll go to the next slide, please. Oh, sorry. So for the second, we're going to do a secondary viewing. We're going to clear. So the purpose, once again, is to clearly identify and memorize visual data. The objective is you want to refine your visual observation skills. In the process, once again, let's all take a collective breath in and out. We're going to be observing, and I want you to take a mental note of what you observed this second time around. You'll answer the following questions in your notebook or worksheet, and these are going to be new questions. So once again, I invite folks that may have nausea issues to maybe step away. We will have another activity right after this. And just ground yourself, get your observation on, and we're going to go to the next slide, please. All right, next slide, please. So you will have 1 minute to write down your responses to these 3 questions. Did you change how you viewed the videos? Why? And what new observational strategy, tactic, lesson, or approach did you use today? And I'll ask folks to drop in response number 3 in the chat, and you'll have your 60 seconds to answer these 3 questions starting now. So once again, did you change how you viewed the videos? Why? If so, why? And what new observational strategy, tactic, lesson, or approach did you use today? And please feel free to share your response to number 3 in the chat. I see Lynn. I slowed down and zeroed in on the 5 individual slides. I see Anne saying yes, stayed on each part longer. Let's see. Irina, instead of scheming through, I watched one frame at a time. So you really zeroed in on one rather than trying to capture all of the chaos. Lynn says they pass on calm and look for problem spots, places of observation. These are phenomenal. Wonderful. Reversed area of focus. The second time wasn't as chaotic. Looked at each frame and kept cycling. Thank you, Jean. Or Jean, sorry. See, I see Jill saying they paid closer attention because it seemed the situation's escalated a bit, mainly people dispersing and becoming more vocal. Definitely. So we'll give folks a few more moments to drop their new observational strategy. And I invite folks, if some of these strategies are resonating with you, definitely, take note of them. This might be something that you would like to incorporate in your own observation, whether you are doing safety teamwork at the No Kings protests, or if you're doing community defense work in your community, protecting immigrants and really everyone from ICE. All right, thank you so much, folks. We're going to go to the next slide, please. So now we went from practicing the OODA loop, which was a crisis decision-making tool that stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. We went through an observation skill up where folks really did a tremendous job of first looking at the chaos and naming bits and pieces here and there. And then in the second showing of the video, really focused. Some folks focused in on one, other folks regulated and were able to get more information. Some folks are saying that they noticed more the second time That's fantastic. So in the Salute Skill Up, we're going to familiarize ourselves with using Salute to document state and non-state actor activities. So state actor activities would be like the police, the military, ICE. Non-state actor activities would be fascists like the Proud Boys or neo-Nazis, folks of those ilk. The objective of this activity is we're going to learn how to incorporate Salute as a part of your protest and community safety work if you're not already using it. And the process is I'm going to introduce Salute. We're going to observe a protest situation. You're going to use your newly refined observational skills to capture as much information as possible, and we're going to share it with each other. So we'll go to the next slide, please. So Salute stands for size, activity, location, uniform, time, and equipment. And you may be wondering, why do we have to use, or why do we need to use an acronym to get this information? One of the most important things that we can do in safety work for our communities is to not spread mis or disinformation. It's important for us to be able to control rumors and to make sure that we're not causing already more psychosocial harm on communities that are already in a place of fear. I know that back in 2016, when the ICE raids of the first Trump regime were starting to heighten in New York, people were sharing, oh, I saw ICE here, but would not say what they look like, what they were wearing, or even confirming that it was ICE. So it's very important that we work with facts because this administration doesn't believe in facts or science. We want to make sure that we're not spreading panic, but we're spreading power. And one way to do that is by using Salute, whether you are identifying ICE activities or whether you are documenting violence from state actors or non-state actors. Next slide, please. So I'm going to ask folks in this is you're going to want to look at, for the size, how many state security officers did you count? For activity, describe what is happening to the best of your ability. For location, where is this happening? For uniform, describe in as much detail what state security forces are wearing. For time, when approximately is this happening? And for equipment, describe the gear, weapons, and or vehicles that state security forces are using. So I want to invite folks to have their situational awareness and their observational skills on. We're going to go into another video, and I'm going to ask y'all to try to collect as much information as possible. And go ahead to the next slide, please. And there will be no sound for the next two videos. Next slide, please. So you will have 1 minute to write down the size, activity, location, uniform, time, and equipment with everything that you observed. And your minute starts now. Seeing some number, size over a dozen. Dark area, most officers were wearing vests, confrontation, following the crowd. Size 100, unnecessary violence. So we're doing the salute exercise. We're looking at videos and we're breaking it down by size, activity, location, uniform, time, and equipment. And you have about 10 more seconds left. And time. So this was a clip that I took as a human rights observer at Standing Rock. The water protectors have decided to go to Bismarck Mall to protest. And as you saw, as they were exiting, the police started to throw protesters on the ground who were already following the dispersal order. So we're going to go into another viewing of it, and I want to invite you to see if you are able to notice more information this time around. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is great. I'm seeing folks giving some clear numbers from 20 to 12, state security. Some folks were counting the number of protesters. In terms of activity, people were getting some really solid details. Someone just shared, police grab one of them, it's not clear why. And Sheila drops that seems that the police are the aggressors. So what else did, so sorry, you're going to have not 2 minutes, but rather 1 minute to drop any new information that you did not notice the first time around. Once again, you will have 1 minute to identify any new information you did not find the first time around. Your 60 seconds start now. Have about 30 more seconds. This is great. I'm seeing people identify the zip ties or the flexi cuffs, different vests. The police were herding protesters out, definitely. And time. That was a lot of visual information, and as the person that was video recording that, and in the at some points in the middle of that, it was definitely a very high intensity situation. This was in 2016, so a good decade ago. And we know that the police have continued to militarize, and with ICE being deployed everywhere, it's important for us to really be able to not just observe, but to document the use of force that they're using against anyone. So thank you all so very much. We're going to go to the next slide, please. So we just went through a very, very quick observation training. I saw that there were some folks that are on safety teams. I see that there's some folks that are organizers, folks that are going to be leading their feminist front contingents at No Kings protests. So you had identified your risk tolerance level with observing state security at protests when we first started. Now, after this training, I would like to invite you to choose your risk tolerance with observing state protests after having gone through this training. Did it go from low to absolutely not? Did it go from low to high? Feel free to drop that in the chat. Once again, we're just doing a real-time assessment of how our risk tolerance was in observing state security at protests before and then now. Oh, I see from medium to low, medium to high, medium to low, medium, definitely. Folks went from medium to high. Fantastic. Was that high? Still high? Great. And we'll go to the next slide, please. So we revisited the OODA loop, looking through observe, orient, decide, and act as a crisis decision-making tool. We went through an observational skill up where we looked at this chaotic octagon of multiple protests that happened all over the world, from Aotearoa to Standing Rock to Minneapolis to New York. Excuse me. And we did that twice. And then we went through a salute skill up where we looked at two of the same protest situations where folks focused on identifying the size, the activity, the location of the action, the uniforms of state security, the time, and the equipment. So now I would like to ask everyone that's watching, what is one new thing you learned in the session that you will use at the next protest or community defense action? I'm already seeing eyes wider, use my memory, information and power. Definitely. Yes, reminder to keep your head on a swivel. The OODA loop. Folks are still sharing kind of like where they went from the beginning to the end. First, breathe. I cannot tell you, yes, thank you so much. It is so important for us to ground ourselves before we even go to do any kind of like safety work, whether that's even being at a protest or being part of a safety team. Being cool, calm, collected, and connected is essential to being able to move through an extremely difficult or even crisis situation to keep yourself and others safe. I'm seeing stop and think, observe, situational awareness, and be ready to observe and document. Shout out to Kathy. We'll remember salute. And once again, everyone will get a copy of this training deck along with the video, and you'll find it on Women's March's YouTube page. We'll give it a few more folks. Always pay attention crowds and know your exits. Yes, thank you, Very 92. I have power to decide how I respond, how to respond to what I observe. Fantastic, April Kendra 9999. Awesome. We'll go to the next slide, please. So if you're like, whoa, this is a pretty solid training, how do I deepen my involvement in this work? How do I refine my skills? Or how do I even start building a women's protection and safety team? So first of all, a women's protection and safety team, otherwise known as a WPT, is a volunteer grassroots formation that is able to keep communities safe, whether at protests or at community events. And the women's protection and safety teams are skilled up throughout the course of the next year. We're going to have our first women's protection and safety team orientation on April 16th. So if you're interested, please go ahead and scan the QR code in front of you with your phone, or fill out the women's protection and safety team interest form that is in the chat. Fantastic. I'll give it a couple more moments. Next slide, please. It was an absolute pleasure and unfortunate. Sorry, that's not the right word. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for just being very committed to being part of each of the activities, for wanting to be able to bring safety and security into your communities that doesn't come down the barrel of a gun. It is so important that as we are fighting for a safer, more kinder, and more just and verdant world, that we actually put what we want to do, or the world that we want to see, into practice. Women's protection teams and coming to these protest safety trainings is one way to do that. Um, Being part of Women's March is being part of a collective of individuals all over, I want to say, the world, who care deeply about their communities and who want to find others to be able to do this work. So thank you all so very much. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. My name is Kala, and I hope that folks sign up to um, check out the women's protection teams. We would love to have all of y'all as a part of this. I'll hand it back to my colleague, Risa.
And actually, we're going to be on stage together because we have some questions. And if you have more questions, please ask them in the chat if there's anything that you want some clarity on before you get out into the streets this weekend. Please ask us in the chat. I did see a suggestion to the admin team, and it's about the captions. I believe that those are a default from Facebook, unfortunately. So my recommendation and my ask of all of you is to reach out, send comments to social media pages for Facebook, for YouTube, about accessibility for live videos, because those are some of the ways that we can make an impact and tell them, hey, we want more access for the people who are participating with us. Now, we also have a question. Is there a web page we can put our homepage cell, or on our homepage, or cell that helps us track potentially unsafe situations that would require egress? You got anything on that, Kala?
Sorry, that is a really good question. I know that back in 2020, I was part of a safety team for the Black Trans Lives um, March, which was like one of the largest in the at that point in history. And we used our Google Maps to identify. We came in the day before to do scouting, and we identified any roads that might have been blocked off. Because we expected maybe a couple hundred people, it ended up being like 15,000. So I would look at map apps that you can drop in pins to identify that. And honestly, it's really about making sure that your safety teams are prepped and have done some scouting beforehand, and are giving some very clear directions for folks, whether it's like do not go in here or move this way. So I would invite folks to look at some of the analog uh, tactics to identify exit points.
And what do you think about signal chats? Having like a signal chat of people who are within your kind of your safety team, or even having your location turned on for someone that's close to you, so they can monitor from afar, just to be aware of your location.
I'm sorry, Risa. I can't hear you. I don't know if it's my
Oh no, I hope that's
yeah,
not me.
my side.
Okay, let me try this again. Are we back? And is my sound back?
If there's any other questions that you'd like to highlight, I'll try to read them and answer them. I see one question. How did you get your hair to look so good? Oh, it's genetic. I'm just kidding. That was not a question.
Is my sound back, Kala?
Let's see. I will look at. Oh, there's a question around wearing green. I would check out Women's March's Instagram page is really fantastic. The Facebook and the Instagram page have a really great carousel talking about the historical background of wearing green to No Kings as part of the feminist front. It's everything from the suffragist movement to multiple movements around the world, and it's who doesn't who hates green? I don't. I love green, and it's one of, I think it's, to me, it's a hopeful color. So I hope folks are out as part of the Feminist Front and at No King's protests this weekend. Let's see. We'll answer maybe one other question. So the National Guard troops are all over DC right now. How do you address avoid them? So here's the thing with National Guard. National Guard is actually much better trained than ICE. I know that in Ferguson, when I was there from August to November 2014, the National Guard were deployed. I'm not saying that they're the friendliest, but they are less likely to escalate a situation than ICE is. So each branch of state security will have a different risk calculus. So, I mean, really, I would just, if you're feeling that the National Guard is encroaching, just document and make sure to use salute. Let's see, what should we, what is the best way to avoid facial recognition other than wearing masks? That is a fantastic question. So, there is a collective in the UK that has done facial recognition makeup, which actually blocks out some of the data points that facial recognition is that needs to be able to identify that. But I will always wear a mask to a protest, both for safety and security purposes. It's still we're still in the middle of a pandemic with a CDC that no longer exists. And also, it affords you a few minutes of time and space if you are tangentially exposed to CS gas or pepper spray.
I can take this one. Yeah, we do have a recording of this training. It will be on YouTube tonight. And you will also receive all the resources from this call via email. So if you registered, you'll receive those all. If you didn't register, there is still time. You can still register and receive all of those via email. Otherwise, check out our YouTube. It'll be under the live tab.
So this is great. I would connect with your local ACLU, Witness, or other groups. There may be some immigrant justice organizations. So for instance, if you're doing live observations and you capture information about ICE, there are multiple organizations that are capturing that information, both for disseminating in the community, but also evidence gathering. Because once this regime is no longer in power, they're going to be held to account, and the excuse of we were just following orders is not going to protect them when we are dragging them to The Hague. What kind of mask? I love my KF94 masks that are made in Korea. They're pretty comfortable, and they will give you about a couple of minutes if you're exposed to tear gas or pepper spray to get out of that location. And it does a really great job of giving you enough space to breathe and move about, and helps to protect the lower half of your face. Do you recommend filming? I recommend filming state security when protesting. Do not take pictures of protesters if they're, unless you have consent, unless you're in relationship with them. It's really better to film state security rather than yourself or protesters. How do we need to? Oh, I want to just plug. Sorry, Risa. On Friday, we're going to be having a protest safety open office hour. So if you are interested in that, just keep an eye out on your email that you've for that information. It's going to include the information to the protest safety office hours, so you can ask more questions that might be more specific to your location. And that email should also include the video recording of this, and also a deck that you can move through at your own pace.
This is a fun one.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say what I would say. I well, first of all, I will just say, take a picture of them. Take a picture of them, right? This is they're clearly trying to goad you, but we want to make sure that they cannot hide behind anonymity. They cannot hide behind their blatant and casual violence, and we cannot no longer tolerate this type of hate. So take a picture of them and drag them for filth. Yes.
Make them famous. All right. I think that's it for our questions for the night. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us. We are at time. Kala, thank you. I know you can't hear me right now, but that's okay. It has been a great night of great information. I hope that all of you feel more secure and prepared going into No Kings this weekend. I hope none of you have to use any of this information. And if you do, I hope that it helps you feel grounded, safe, and ready to get yourself to safety. Thanks again for being with us tonight. We'll see you next time, and feel free to join us for open house on Friday if you have any other questions. Bye.